It has been said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But I believe that most journeys begin with 1,000 small steps, followed by a huge leap from the known into the unknown. The eastern Himalayas of Tibet and Sichuan Province of China is a vast mountainous region that has recently been open to unrestricted foreign travel. Historically known as Kham, this area provides a fascinating cultural experience and contains an abundance of untapped mountain resources for the aspiring adventurer. Jarjinjabo is a granite massif located in Kham, several miles east of the modern-day geographic border of Tibet. In the fall of 2004, 6 of us traveled to explore and climb on these granite spires.
I repeat, vodka is all gone.
How does that feel, Cater?
Our journey began 6 months earlier in Salt Lake City. Information on the area was scarce, and only 2 groups of climbers had ever visited the Jarjinjabo area.
Exciting, like, it wraps around.
Yeah, I bet it comes up here, right?
The first was a Japanese team. They completed the first ascent of Janmo over a 4-day period in August 2001. 1 year later, Jared Ogden, Mark Sennett, and Pete Athens made a trip to the area and established 6 new routes, including the first free ascent of the Japanese route. The summit spire still remained unclimbed, as well as the impressive south face of Jabo. Our starting point would be Chengdu, a city of 9 million people and the second largest city in Sichuan Province.
Right on, man. How was the flight?
For several members of the team, this was their first trip to Asia. At first, Asian cities appear as maddening chaos to most Westerners, but gradually, a certain ease and method appear to the madness. We hired 2 jeeps and drivers for the trip and bought supplies. Our drivers' names were Mao and Ho Hao. After loading the jeeps, we barely had enough room to squeeze in. There are 6 climbers, 1 interpreter, and 2 drivers, plus supplies and climbing equipment for 3 weeks.
Amazing. Well, almost all of it. There's on the top.
It's a tight fit, for sure.
I hope that thing's a V6.
The next 3 days will be a slow uphill journey to the Tibetan Plateau. Outside the city, we discovered that driving is just as chaotic, and we soon realized that the most dangerous part of the journey will not be the climbing, but the 7 days spent driving over the Sichuan-Tibet Highway, one of the highest and roughest roads in the world.
So which one of these are you going to have for lunch? I was shooting for this one here. Those are snakes filled with sugar. It's like the Chinese equivalent of a pixie stick.
The road 318 leaves Chengdu, then climbs to a town called Kangding, known as the gateway to Tibet. This is the largest city in Kham and is located in a narrow valley at around 9,000 feet.
We're in Kunming, having dinner.
Kangding.
We're in Kangding having dinner. Somewhat chaotic. Getting our room dealt with, but as well now, I believe.
From there, the road begins a winding ascent to the Tibetan Plateau and a town called Litong. From there, it is another 10-hour drive to our destination, Jarjinjabo. The road is a bone-jarring experience that reveals magnificent views of mountains and vast gorges. Broad expanses of lush green grass cover everything in sight.
Oh, let's see, we're at 14,150 right here, which is about the elevation of the highest mountain in the San Juans in southwest Colorado, and we're sitting in a car.
The road to Litong goes over several 15,000-foot passes. One of our drivers, Mao, who we nicknamed the Master, became very sick on this section of road.
Our driver's
Master started going bad.
was not acclimating very well.
He was pretty much passed out in the car, speaking gibberish.
I think he's gonna make it though, but we already have a master plan in case he doesn't. My job is to push the gear shift into first. Jonathan's in the back's gonna take the steering wheel. Ben's going for the emergency brake.
And we sent him off with Lou to the hospital to get worked on. And now here we are, staying at a truck stop. It's really quite serious.
In Litong, we stayed one day to enjoy the Litong Horse Festival and to let Mao recover. The Horse Festival is the largest Tibetan gathering in Kham, an annual event where thousands of Khampas gather for entertainment, trading, and horse racing. We explore the entire day, taking photos and absorbing the experience. The Khampas are known as the Tibetan horsemen. In the past, they had a fierce reputation as notorious bandits. Khampas still live as their ancestors, either in nomadic-style tents or in huge stone houses almost castle-like in appearance. The biggest problem we have is communication. We speak no Chinese or Tibetan, and our translator's English is not so good. Very few people speak English in this area. We make friends easily, although it seems as though the locals are more interested in our gadgets than us. We arrive at Zopu Lake at the base of Jarjinjabo on a rainy afternoon.
Here we got Jarjinjabo, Janmo.
Located here is an 800-year-old Buddhist monastery. This is one of the few monasteries not destroyed during the Cultural Revolution. The lake is considered sacred, and monks circumambulate the lake in a clockwise direction. In the past, the bodies of dead monks were tossed into the river for burial. We are informed that fishing and bathing are strictly forbidden. We are told that if caught fishing, the local people will want to kill us. Not very Buddhist-like, but we hope it is just a figure of speech. We rent a small room from one of the locals, Ali. It is a 12 by 12 foot hand-cut timber building. The roof is covered in sod that still sprouts wildflowers and grass. This will serve as shelter for cooking and storage. There is a constant stream of people watching our every move.
I'm being ogled by all the women in this village. Come over here, watch television.
For now, we have become the entertainment and joke about reality TV. The people here live simple lives and are happy. They have adapted their lifestyle to the land as opposed to adapting the land to their convenience. The next day we hike up to the upper cirque with some gear to make an upper camp. The weather is holding steady. The upper camp is at 15,800 feet. The trail to the upper cirque starts at the southern end of the lake. It ascends a moraine, then climbs a steep 2,000 feet through flower-covered alpine meadows. It then levels out, passing through a boggy lake that we nicknamed the Hobbit Pond. The last 250 feet are a scramble up a rock gully. The top of the gully spits us out in a sandy alpine meadow that sits at the base of Janmo and Jabo. A steep and loose talus field rise to the base of the clean granite formations. In total, it takes about 4 hours to make the hike from the lake with a heavy pack. We arrive breathing heavily with the hot sun beating down on us.
The circus is in town.
The granite looks amazing, very clean with nice lines. We pitch 3 tents and then head back down.
I left a lung up there. Maybe one side of my heart.
A couple of us are slightly dehydrated and have headaches. The altitude is a constant reminder of our physical limitations. In the mountains, when the weather is good, you have to go. The barometer is high, so we decide to go up for 4 days despite the fact that we are not totally acclimated. We only have about 14 days to climb, so every day is important. This area of Kham is one of the wettest areas of the Tibetan Plateau. Although not directly affected by the monsoons, the Tibetan Plateau actually generates its own pressure system, but this region is on the edge, and the moist southern air mixes with the northern air, creating lots of rain. In fact, the area around Litong receives about 10 inches of rain in August. We sort gear and head up to the upper camp.
Says I'm like a yak.
The weather still looks good. The small cirque is the perfect camping area with large boulders strewn about a flat sandy opening. Alpine flowers and moss grow everywhere, and I feel guilty about tramping around on them. The area has seen very little foot traffic with almost no human impact. It is indeed special to experience an area like this and be conscientious of our presence in this unique mountain realm. The day after arriving to the upper cirque, Mark and I decide to climb the east ridge of Jabo. The ridge looks moderate, so it will be a nice acclimation route, plus get us to the top. We start early and hike up to the east saddle to start the route.
How's it looking, Mark?
Pretty good.
The weather is perfect, with white puffy clouds and an endless view of mountains stretching off into the distance. We huff and puff, and 4 hours later, we are standing on top of Jabo.
Right on. Woo! Love it. Woo! Yeah.
We spend about 20 minutes up top admiring the view of snow-capped peaks and remote valleys before descending. Seven rappels later, we are back on the saddle. We arrive back to camp just as Jonathan and Bernie are about to top out on Janmo. They didn't start until late afternoon and simul-climb most of the route, a technique where climbers both climb at the same time. They topped out at dark, not knowing the descent. They spent the next 4 hours descending a loose and dangerous gully, and finally arrived back at camp at 11:30, tired but happy. Ben and Tommy's first route went straight up the crack system on the front of Jabo. The whole day the weather was threatening to unleash on them. Towards late afternoon, we watched as Ben led the last pitch. He was 15 feet from the top ridge when he began to downclimb. He had reached a blank section of rock and it was impossible to continue. They had to retreat.
So what happened up there?
We got isolated.
You did?
Yeah,
it
basically.
Fully ran out?
No, you get up there.
Yeah, there's no gear.
And there's...
No, like you went up off that block?
And went left,
Yeah.
and looked around, poked around, and went right, and poked around, and was like, all right, we go down.
Oh.
After a rest day, we are excited to climb again. The weather is still good, but strange. Storms have been building around us, but for some reason, they have been skirting Jabo and Janmo.
All around us the whole time was fucking chaos. Chaos. Chaos.
Mark and I decide to head up Janmo. We pick a line that starts from a ledge on the east side of the spire. By the time we hike up to the base, the weather has taken a turn for the worse. We decide to fix 2 pitches and then retreat. Jonathan and Bernie focus on the unclimbed spire atop Janmo. They repeat the Japanese route and continue to the top and begin the push to climb the lone spire on top of Janmo. Jonathan places 3 bolts by hand on lead before retreating. We all descend to base camp to recover and explore the lower valley for a couple days. Another purpose of this trip is to complete a vegetation mapping project funded by an American Alpine Club research grant. Using satellite imagery and ground truthing, we are preparing a baseline map of the area's vegetation. 2 days later, we all head back up to finish our projects. Ben and Tommy climb Janmo, repeating the route Jonathan and Bernie established on their first day.
Super alpinist Ben Ditto, top climber
In
China right now. Top guy.
Mark and I continue up the line we started 2 days earlier.
Stroud was in the middle of the crux and it started raining and snowing. We're having a good day.
We all reach the summit of Janmo just as a storm is rolling in. No time for a leisurely summit. We hastily
So where
prepare
are
the
we, Tommy?
rappels and descend.
We are at the wraps on Janmo. Not quite the summit. Summit obviously is right up there. Jonathan and Bernie have 3 bolts put in up on that block. Almost finished. And some shit rolling in. Wrap around. You already wrapped around it? Yep. Heinous descent.
I'm on top of the hill, and we will be on top of the hill today.
The next day, Jonathan and Bernie climb Janmo again by a new line. They plan to summit the top spire. They reach the spire in the late afternoon and begin the final pitch. Bernie places another bolt on lead and a pin. He then finishes on technical face climbing. He pulls onto the summit in late afternoon and is soon followed by Jonathan. This is a special day for Bernie since it is his 30th birthday. They dubbed the route 3 times a charm due to the strange coincidences of threes that appeared during the climb. They return to camp late in the evening, ecstatic but tired.
Happy birthday!
Bernie, good job. Happy birthday. Jonathan. You too. Good job.
Nice work. It's nice to
We feel the weather is deteriorating and there may not be many good climbing days left. Mark and I attempt a new route on an adjacent peak, but are turned back by bad climbing conditions. The other two parties climb direct lines up the south face of Jabo that converge at the last pitch. The climbing is spectacular and reminiscent of climbing in Yosemite's Tuolumne Meadows. All four summit as the afternoon weather closes in. That night, a violent storm rocks the surf. It appears that our climbing days at Jarjinjabo are over. The next day, we pack up and head down. We have had 10 days of exceptional weather and believe that the bad weather could last for a week or more.
Turns out that a little squirrel's been chewing on the battery cables, so we're pushing the damn thing, try to get it going again.
After 2 days of rain, we send our guide down to Chalu to get the drivers and an extra set of jumper cables.
The master has arrived.
It is time to leave. The drive back to Chengdu is long, and we want to visit another area for a possible return trip. Unlike some journeys where epics prevail and lives are lost, our trip ended with a smile on all of our faces. We experienced a land and people that lies not just on the other side of the globe, but also on the other side of how we live. A simple life is a good life, and one we should all try and aspire to.
Monkey pump.
It was a long, hard 5-6.
Are you having fun?
Yeah, he's having a great time.